especially the government and most of the people.
Yeah, we were just discussing, we don't like it when something doesn't work, especially the government.
Yeah.
Okay. Sound check, everything's good. If it's not, holler. But don't need to call in if it's good. We got a bunch of calls the first hour that it was good, so it looks like we're finally cooking with gas again.
Hopefully.
Okay, we're back, Freedom Forum 2 on this, the 14th day of the 10th month, year of our Lord Jesus the Christ, 2015. Heavenly Father, give us the strength, the wisdom, the courage, and the patience to do your will in all things. We ask that you would continue to confuse or convert our enemies. In Jesus the Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right, we're going to let Jim kick off with some stuff on Common Core. That's at a critical stage
Where to start?
with the meetings and all, and the aftermath of that.
I'll tell
release of
them
those-
about the meeting tomorrow. Oh, no, I left the address at home, that's all right. They have these standards reviews all over the state, each district, each congressional district. And tomorrow in Crowley at the Acadia School Board thing on North Parkinson, I forget the address, they're gonna have one from 9 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is their agenda: welcome and introductory presentation, subcommittee. Now, subcommittee work time by grade level. I'm gonna go through each grade, which basically in the morning, I don't think we're gonna be too involved. Then we have lunch, and then we have, the beginning of the afternoon, subcommittee whole group discussion. Doesn't explain what that is, just tells you. Then, at the end of the day, public comment. Great. Oh,
And
great.
that's the sum total of their agenda. They can't come up with any details. Obviously, this is
Well-
part of the openness of government structure within Louisiana. They want you to guess what's going to be under those very broad subheadings.
This article that was in the Advertiser said reevaluating the big box approach to education, and this was written by a good friend. I'm not gonna mention her name because I didn't ask if I could, but she wrote the article. It says a Baton Rouge millionaire, Lane Grigsby, is banking on the purchase of the Louisiana State School Board in October's Board of Elementary and Secondary Bessie election. Did you understand what that paragraph said? Is banking on the purchase of Louisiana's State School Board. Okay? He's got help from his friends, Los Angeles billionaire Eli Broad and Walmart heirs Jim and Alice Walton. In his October filing with the Louisiana Ethics Administration, Grigsby, through his one-man political action committee, Empower Louisiana, is facilitating the spending of over $400,000 of Walton money and $250,000 of Broad's money. The Waltons also contributed an additional $325,000 to a like-minded political action committee called Louisiana Federation for Children. I could put another name on that. So that's 650 plus 325 is $975,000 out of state money.
And that's just that batch. There's more. That's not all that's being,
That's not all the money that's in
It's
there.
coming
There's
in.
100,000 here and
yeah.
whatever. Anyways, I had talked about this at our last meeting, and we looked up what Lane Grigsby does. He owns Cajun Industries, and that's a structural business. And we
Heavy
mean
construction.
heavy construction. So we kept saying, if they're investing all this money, these people need a return on their money. The guy, Eli Broad in Los Angeles wants to take over 52% of the schools in the Los Angeles area and build charter schools. $490 million.
Let's see.
And why is he investing that money in Louisiana?
We got a guy that wants to build schools in California, build schools now, okay? And a guy in Louisiana that builds things like schools, are each contributing hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Bessie elections
Of a non-paying job.
for non-paying jobs. Do you see the connection, people? Do you see where following the money helps you to figure out what the heck
How
is
many
going
people
on?
said that, agreed with me, that all along I've been telling people,
Yeah,
follow
Yeah.
the money.
yeah.
Okay, so now, according to the New Orleans Advocate, this big box gang will spend over $1 million in 3 races to support Jim Garvey of Metairie, Tony Davis of Natchitoches, and Holly Bofi of Lafayette. I already have a listing of how much money they spent on TV. $87,000 on Holly Bofi.
For television ads.
Television ads, but the one that's missing that we can't get the numbers on is KOFY. Because I know she ran commercials on there. Unbelievable. Our incumbents who have been instrumental to this new direction, new education oligarchy, working diligently to provide the standardized delivery of Common Core. The bankrupting of local school systems to channel money to unelected private and charter school boards and accountability as a means to weaken and cheapen Louisiana's teachers' corps. Listen, we had a big $22 million shortage in our budget last year here in Lafayette. $13.2 million of that was because we paid money out to charter schools. What Grigsby and his out-of-state friends have in common is big talk about raising standards. But don't let them fool you. This is not about raising standards. This is about establishing, and we talked about this before, a corporate welfare system for charter schools, private school operations, testing, and textbook companies at the expense of the Louisiana taxpayer. And we also know that there's some very high-powered people that are under investigation for insider trading.
You're not supposed to tell me.
Oh, well, I didn't say who,
Okay.
but I just want to let them know those things are going on. This is about advocating for substandard, standardized products of the education industrial age. Democratically controlled neighborhood schools are the new buy local, and the Walmart Waltons will have none of it. They will claim failure, shut your local school, and authorize a for-profit charter or issue unaccountable vouchers. Many of us are at odds with our own democracy because we see the process dictated to us by money and ideological zealots.
Zealot.
When the zealotry is devoid of deeper intellectual understanding of the science of educating children and has every appearance of being a pursuit of profit at the expense of our youngest and most vulnerable citizens, we are at a critical impasse. It is time to reevaluate this big box approach and put education back in the hands of parents and educators. There's another good article on this too. Classrooms not for sale. What I want to get at here, I wrote some comments about articles. Now, we don't have time to read all those articles. I just read an opinion article in the Daily Advertiser saying how under Holly Bofi's leadership, scores are up, more graduates, and so on. One thing is missing from the article again was how much she gets paid by the CCSSO, which is the Common Core State Standards Initiative. She, by her own admission, publicly makes in excess of 100K. And the latest PART-like test raw data shows that under her leadership, the test scores are a complete failure. And the system she promotes is failing. Big out-of-state business is buying our children's future. We don't need to re-elect people who have no integrity and continue to present an image that doesn't exist. Please elect someone who really cares about the future of our children and the educational system. Elect Mike Kramer. What you have to look at, and we went through the scores and stuff last week, and now this week, they went and passed, and they're gonna do everything they can. I didn't go to the Bessie meeting. They kept changing the dang agenda. Anyways, they
The
passed.
agenda and the time.
And the time was gonna be at 4 o'clock, then all of a sudden, I go in the morning at 6:30, 7, and they changed it to 9 a.m. So there was no way I could make it there. Here's the deal. When you look at, let's take 8th grade, okay, 8th grade math. The raw data was 22%. Now, they have a deal, 650 to 850 scale, which I still don't know how they fixed those numbers. And this year, the cut score for that is 725. So 22% means that's what the score was of the questions out of 80 questions. They only got 22% right, on average across the state. So with the cut, we had 725 points. We put that at 725 points, and they passed.
So nobody flunked.
They
this
didn't,
test then.
fail. Even if you got 0,
If they got 0, they still passed.
Yep.
Because they had 725 points added to.
which in essence makes it look like they're doing better.
Well, yeah, if nobody fails, because last test,
I don't know. I had a
people
fight.
failed.
I had a fight in my senior year to pass some classes because of some real personal tragedies in my life, and kind of went off on the I don't care mode. But the thing is, I don't understand all this. How can you say what I just read? Tomorrow I'm going to this standards review thing. I might have to call Tom, because the jail's not far from where.
Yeah, Crowley's not a big place.
Crowley's not a big place. I might take a couple $100 with me though.
Yeah, but there's liable to be a bunch of y'all in there. There's a bunch of the calculus shoe ladies are coming.
Here's the thing.
They're taking off for the day.
Right, they had to
From
get
school.
permission from the schools. And this thing is from 9 until 3. People like Mike Kramer that want to be there can't. He's the principal of St. Martinville High School. How does the principal take off on Thursday?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, this is a comment I'm gonna make when you're finished about
But
this.
here's the thing. We got to seriously look at what's going on across this state. These people are buying our educational system. And if we don't flip Bessie, not just this district, but keep the ones we
Well,
have.
some of the folks that are watching this are to the east. Now, we want to keep, who is it over there?
Lottie Beebe.
We want to keep Lottie Beebe in there.
I-
They're pumping money into her opposition.
Oh, and you have people like Lottie and, God, I can't think of their names now. But, I mean, Mike Kramer, I vetted him. He said, when I sat down with him and vetted him, he said that was one of the toughest interviews he ever had for a job. I wanted to make sure, and he's a good guy, and he cares about the kids. But you know what his asset is? He's had to put up with all this crap for the last 4 years. So he knows what the deal is. But what I'm really looking at is the fact, look at these test scores, the highest average across the state for anything, any grade, was 47%. Now you're telling me that's good? They just passed the thing, 7-4, the 7 crooks and the 4 good ones. Or the 7 garbage cans and the 4 good ones, whatever. Oh, I said that today. They passed it, and we knew that. There was really no reason for any of us to go and testify. They gave John White the power and approval for these cut scores. We protested. I emailed and I left voicemails. Now, I didn't get any replies,
You're not.
but to tell them to stop and think about this. But they don't care. It's all about their agenda. I mean, I watched the commercials of Holly Bophy and the flyer, which, well, we won't show that, but some artwork been done. But the thing is, I watch these and they're so and then I read the articles in the newspaper. That's why I wrote that one explanation that I just read. I read that article. It was so full of bull crap, it's amazing. But you know what? The big money people got the commercials, they got to put the mail outs and all this. These other people are running grassroots,
Real grassroots. They're having a,
grassroots,
yeah.
Campaigns. And God, I pray that there's some really good team leaders. This is a huge district. This is Lafayette, Acadia, Beauregard, Jeff Davis,
Calcasieu
and Cameron. I mean, it's a huge district. This guy's the principal, and he's going to meet and greets and doing all kinds of stuff, while the big money people are just piling money in.
And Lafayette's the biggest source of the local support for this kind of garbage. Let me tell you,
Go ahead.
this is an object lesson of how they're running these meetings. They're changing the times. They make the meetings at times when they know people that have to work can't go. All right, they've done it other places, committee hearings in Baton Rouge,
Well,
et
just
cetera.
like yesterday.
All of this stuff, and they change them at the last minute, et cetera. Open and transparent government, if the meetings are scheduled in such a fashion that the opposition isn't going to be able to get there, because the opposition is the grassroots in most of this stuff now. They've got big money behind them. They did the same thing in Baton Rouge and all of these Common Core bills. They let the people that were in favor of Common Core testify, gave them all the time they wanted, and then they restricted the parents and the teachers that wanted to talk against Common Core. They restricted in, what was it, 2-minute time limit?
Yeah, I finally talked to the House, to the representatives, House Education Committee guy, and he actually, and I didn't threaten him, but I just told him from my heart that you were screwing over the parents and the teachers. You let the big money people that pay for your campaign, you let them talk forever, but the ones that are most important ones, you shut up.
Yeah,
And
it's all money. It's
I'll
all,
be darned if he didn't allow them 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he never cut off one parent.
but
And
see,
that was a private conversation before the meeting started.
and that's what it takes. And of course, oh, but we have to have limits to how long we can be here and all of this
Bull
crap.
crap.
Well, excuse me, then you cut off everybody at 2 minutes. You don't let the textbook company speak for as long as they darn well please,
Well,
etc. But you see, this is one way that they keep the Democratic Republic from functioning the way it's supposed to. You're supposed to have input, not just at the ballot box, but even at the ballot box. It will not surprise me if they monkey with the election results, because of all of this money being pumped in to Louisiana, and the money that they're gonna make off of this stuff. Guys like Gates and his computers that he's going to be able to sell. He's already sold millions and millions of dollars worth of computers to Louisiana already because of this. And he's going to be able to sell millions and millions more, especially when he goes to that damnable Windows 10 thing that he's going to force down your throat if you still use Windows, which you should not do. You need to get out of Windows. We have ways to do that. There's things you can go into. But that thing there is going to be a big money maker for him, and it's going to be a big loss for the people. Loss of rights, a loss of privacy, everything. So this stuff is not all done in a vacuum, people. These guys know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
They got experts running this crap. They got all this money. I mean, when a guy from Hollyweird, California pumps almost $1 million, $250,000 into the Bessie race here.
And then you got the Waltons.
One candidate.
Waltons, $725,000. Let me read something here. This is just a part of an article that I have, but it says yesterday the pro-CC majority on Bessie voted and passed 7-4 a proposal to allow Superintendent John White to mislead and deceive parents, teachers, etc. regarding the real student test scores on PARCC tests this year. And that was our article in the Advocate. This is a scam. All the states who are giving PARCC are coming up with the same results. Students are only getting between 20 and 40% of the test questions correct. These numbers are easily understandable and will cause any reasonable person to question the effectiveness of the CC standards and the validity of these tests. Of course, questioning is the last thing that Superintendent John White and his Bessie partners in crime want. Here is the truth about the PARCC scores and what White is doing with the Bessie approval. And then I have that printout of this article in the Louisiana Education. These pro-CC Bessie members, Garvey, Bofi, Jones, Romer, Guillotte, Moranti, Bradford, voted for the deception. The only way to fix this mess is to flip Bessie. Now here's an article.
Go ahead and take the caller, then we'll come to that article.
Go ahead, caller. Uh-oh, I hung them up. Or they hung up.
Call back.
Call back. This is our buddy Vincent. Barra.
Yeah. Go ahead and start on that, and then we'll take the caller.
This is an article written by Vincent Barra. It says, what is the point of this expensive test? By the way, these tests cost. White has stated in that the test will show evidence of progress.
Progress?
How we have
Progress
never
down.
given this test before, so how can we show progress? It is different in the makeup and design from all previous tests. Even worse, the public has not been shown a single question on the test to even gauge if they were written appropriately for the age levels.
Obviously, they were not.
Or answered correctly. There have been numerous errors in past tests. How these tests that students took in March won't be released until November. Students have already been placed in classes this year without any knowledge of their strengths or weaknesses on state tests. Teachers have no clue what skills need more emphasis this year or what they could have done to help students from last year. How is this evidence of progress? White and numerous Bessie board members up for re-election have been boasting about the fact that graduation rates are up under White's leadership. When you lower the passing score on a geometry end-of-course test to 32%, that's not leadership, that's malpractice.
But you get more people graduated because now more people are passing the tests that would have flunked it if it was a real test.
32%?
Oh, well, again, we're getting progress down. Progress goes both ways. Normally, you think of progress as being improvement, not if you're a progressive, Margaret Sanger progressive. Progress is,
When asked recently about being able to see exact questions on the test and precisely what skill they were meant to evaluate, White responded that such information was not available because a question can test many skills. Then what is the point of this expensive test? A test that takes months longer to grade than previous tests, and the questions are not clearly written to evaluate specific skills. How is this evidence of progress? While White battles to keep his job, we, the teachers and students, are constantly held hostage to an education department that seems to convey the message that ineptitude is an evidence of progress.
well, that's what it is. If the worse they are, the more inept the students are, then the more progress they're deeming has occurred.
I wonder how long I'm going to get to talk tomorrow.
Um,
As long as I want.
Might get enough to read that, what you just read that you'd written.
Yeah, that.
But
I mean, there's no way I can express. No way.
not in 2 minutes.
Not if I only got 2 minutes. That's why I might get,
Well,
asked to leave because I'm not just taking 2 minutes. I'll pull a Sarah Wood.
yeah, but see, again, that's strike two. The fact that these test scores are just a raw score. You don't know what the test questions were. You
Well-
don't know how well each individual student did on specific test questions. All you know is their percentage across the board. I learned more from the test questions that I got wrong than the ones I got right. So if I don't know what I did wrong on a test, what have I learned?
Here's the thing. How can you evaluate the standards if you can't evaluate the questions on the test?
Well, and how they fit the so-called standards.
Right.
If you've got a standard, you have to know how it matches up with the performance.
But I've heard many a teacher say that. There is no way to evaluate the standards if you don't know what's on the dang test. And that's what people don't understand. Teachers do not know what's on the test. Parents do not know what's on the test. There is some things that they're surveys that the kids are being asked to fill out. Do your parents ever get mad? What?
A lot of stuff that's none of their bloody business is in those surveys, like that question. Again, parents, you need to demand that you see your students, your child's test results. Their test, the questions, how they answered the questions, what their score was on the specific questions. You need to demand this. More and more of you need to demand this. And if they put you off, then you need to squawk. You need to make noise. You need to make a pill of yourself to the school board, to your school board member in your district, etc. This ain't going to go away because you sit there and you think, all I got to do is pray about it.
No way.
If I pray about it, it's going to go away.
No way.
No. Jehovah ain't going to help you unless you help yourself.
Here's the thing. If we do not flip Bessie this year, we're done.
Wash your hands of it because your children are done.
Our children are done. Because if we can't get John White out and some of these people that need to go, that are not in there, all of these people that are throwing money at this have no background in education.
No, but they do in constructing schools. They will make millions off of the school. After these test results show that the school that your child now goes to failed, you won't know why they failed. You will just know that some bureaucrat has decided that your school has failed. Your school needs to be replaced by a charter school. And they won't take that old school building unless they can make lots of money renovating it.
What's the other thing that teachers, what are they, I keep forgetting, the term, not term limited,
Tenure.
tenure. Holly Bophy wants to eliminate tenure. I read the article.
Mhm.
Why do they want to eliminate tenure?
Control.
I know the answer.
Yeah,
It
control
has
over the
nothing to do with
teachers.
control. It has good teachers, get rid of them,
Yeah, control
and bring
level.
in Teachers for America
Yeah.
that get certified as a teacher in 6 weeks.
Those Muslims that they're hiring from the Middle East to
Uh-huh.
take,
And
to
if you
be
think they ain't bringing
teachers,
them,
they're bringing them in New Orleans. They're bringing them in Baton Rouge.
and guess what? The school district's got to pay X amount of dollars for each one of them.
The school district, not the charter school.
I send a lot of this information to the school board and I don't get any replies.
Well, understand too.
Well, I did get one time.
The school board is made up of people that are elected. They're elected by special interests. Oh, but I voted for them. Yeah, but how do you know who paid for their political ads? How do you know how much they paid for their political ads? And then how much did those special interests pay under the table after they got elected?
See, my philosophy is do away with all PACs. PACs should be illegal.
The PACs have gotten out of control.
Well,
When
they
this kind of
found a
stuff-
way to go around, legitimate campaign money,
Yeah.
is what it is. Look, Holly Bophy got donations of $350,000 for a non-paying position.
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
She
I'm gonna
is,
tell you what, parents, just keep sitting at home. If you should be up in arms about these test scores. You should be knocking on the door.
that's for my children to worry about. It's not of my concern any longer.
I'll tell you
We've
what,
actually had people say that.
I really had a blessing last Saturday. My little 4-year-old grandson came over to the house and we watched the football game together. But you know what? The afternoon that I spent with him and the fun we had together, and we had a fun time, it reminded me of why I do what I do. I don't have any kids in school, but I got 10 grandchildren, the 11th one on the way, and a great-grandchild. Most of the other ones are pretty much out of high school. But I got a 4-year-old, I got a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, one that's on the way. What is their future?
Yeah.
What is their future? These people that are trying to control the educational system. And don't be fooled. I understand Vitter is pro-charter school. And don't be fooled with what you hear. We had an article, we were talking about that earlier, just to show you how elections go on the AG's race and how they tied Jeff Landry to something. When the facts came out, it was a total lie.
Yep.
And it was done by Woody Jenkins and Caldwell. And tying him to the good old boy law firm that Jeff was working for. But in 2011, Jeff was a congressman. And he no longer worked for that firm. But they used it to try and dirty Jeff's name. I don't like that stuff. When you got to go to that point,
They're
that
running
tells
scared.
me they're running scared and they're corrupt.
Yep. Yep.
And so you people be careful what you see in these commercials where it sounds extremely bad about that person. Make sure you try and find a way to figure it out. It's the same way with these Bessie elections. I don't care where you are in the state. Make sure you know who you're voting for. And hope the machines ain't messed with.
Yeah. This is what concerns me this year. All right.
Wow.
Shift into first gear now, or third gear, or fifth gear.
I didn't even,
The gun control farce
oh God.
with Thomas Sowell. Before I read this to you, I'm going to tell you what happened in Roseburg, Oregon last Saturday.
The real thing.
The real thing that did not get publicized. Unfortunately, the article we got on this that I sent out to everybody that had some video but didn't have the end of the article videoed, unfortunately, because that was the most telling part. Hundreds of people showed up to protest Obama's visit to Roseburg, Oregon, and tell him to go home.
Big signs.
Big signs, big signs.
Not
Okay.
little signs.
Well,
Big signs.
anticipating this, his motorcade, which always has at the tail end of it a big black Suburban, all blacked out, and in the roof of that Suburban are these doors that open up like this. They open up clamshell style
Turret.
to the side, and there's a thingy that goes inside there that rotates. And there's a guy behind it. And it's in 7.62 by 51 NATO
Is
caliber.
that called a minigun?
It's a minigun, 3,000 round per minute
Yeah.
capability.
They're effective.
And they're not supposed to have that displayed. It's supposed to be, until they need it, it's supposed to be locked away down below. Well, because there was going to be such protests and all, the powers that be decided, we got to intimidate these people. So they had the minigun exposed. They had the guy behind the minigun. The report that I got was that the mercenary behind the minigun was, and I'm sure the gun was loaded. That's the level that they have reduced themselves to. Okay. There were several families of victims of that unfortunate shooting who refused to meet with Obama. And some of those that did, I'm sure there were some pithy comments from them. Obama's intrusion into the mourning community, M-O-U-R-N, mourning, not the A-M, but they were in mourning, of Roseburg, Oregon, in order to promote his political crusade for stronger gun control laws, part of a pattern of his using various other sites of shooting rampages to promote his long-standing crusade of the political left. The zealotry of gun control advocates might make some sense if they had any serious evidence that more restrictive gun control laws actually reduce gun crime. But they seldom even discuss the issue in terms of empirical evidence. Saving lives is serious business, but claiming to be saving lives and refusing to deal with evidence is a farce. Nor is the Second Amendment nor the National Rifle Association the real issue, despite how much the media and the intelligentsia focus on them. If there's hard evidence that stronger gun control laws actually reduced gun crime in general, or murders in particular, the Second Amendment can be repealed, as other amendments have been repealed. Well, that's incorrect there, Mr. Sowell. No Bill of Rights amendment has been repealed, ever. Okay? They are not normal amendments, the first 10. So he's in error there. But as he says here, constitutional amendments exist to serve the people. No. Constitutional amendments merely adjust the body of the Constitution. The Bill of Rights are there to serve the people. Okay? People do not exist to be sacrificed to constitutional amendments. He's right there. But if hard evidence shows that restrictions on gun ownership lead to more gun crime rather than less, then the NRA's opposition to those restrictions makes sense independently of the Second Amendment. Again, we have to differ with him there and say that no, that's incorrect. Second Amendment has nothing to do with gun crime. Any opposition to the Second Amendment, any changes to the Second Amendment have nothing to do with gun crime, period. Even if there was proof of such, which there is not. Since this all boils down to a question of hard evidence about plain facts, that's what we need to talk about. Remove Second Amendment from the argument for the time being. It's difficult to understand how gun control laws should have become such a heated and long-lasting controversy. Well, actually, again, it's not difficult to understand because that's the only thing keeping us free. This program is on the air. You are listening to this program because we have the right to keep and bear arms, period. That's the only reason, the only one. It's not the First Amendment. It's not freedom of speech, press, etc. It is only Article 2, because Article 1 does not mean anything without Article 2 of the Bill of Rights. Period. And they know it. In every place where they have chosen to amend so-called free speech in these so-called democratic Western countries, they have done it. They have done it. There are hate crime laws all over the world now, etc. I mean, I could go on and on about such things. But understand this. This boils down to a question of hard evidence. He is right there. There is a huge amount of statistical evidence just within the United States. Since gun control laws are different in 50 different states, and these laws have been changed over time in many of these states. There are mountains of data on what happens under restrictive laws and what happens when restrictions are lifted. Statistics on murder among the most widely available statistics and among the most accurate, since no one ignores a dead body. With so many facts available from so many places and times, why is gun control still a heated issue? Short answer is most gun control zealots do not even discuss the issue in terms of hard facts. Bottom line. The zealots act as if they just know somehow that bullets will be flying hither and yon if you allow ordinary people to have guns. And they've said it time after time. Okay? The most telling was when the Florida concealed carry law went into effect. They said there's going to be a shootout. There's going to be Dodge City all over again. Every high noon in every Florida town where people are carrying guns legally concealed. Among the many facts this ignores is that gun sales were going up by the millions in the late 20th century America, murder rate going down at the same time. That's a fact. Among the other facts that gun control zealots consistently ignore are data on how many lives are saved each year by a defensive use of guns. And I've got several examples here that I may or may not get into, but the bottom line is every day this happens in this country.
But you don't hear about that.
Well, you hear a few. If it's local, a minor one here and there. Okay, let's.
Nationally?
Yeah. This seldom requires actual shooting. Just pointing a loaded gun at the assailant, usually enough to get him to back off, often in some haste. Not just pointing it, just by the simple fact that you have one with you and they know it somehow. You simply show them the holstered weapon. And boy, they backpedal fast. Okay? I know friends of mine have had that happen to them when they were about to be faced with an obvious, in one case, a gang after Katrina in a parking lot in Slidell. And all he had to do was pull his AK out of the truck and make sure they saw that he had one. And boy, they didn't want to mess with him anymore.
That could change the situation.
Okay?
I got 30, you got 7.
Well, there have been books and articles based on voluminous statistics, including statistics comparing gun laws and gun crime rates in other countries, such as Guns and Violence by Professor Joyce Lee Malcolm, George Mason University. Seldom do these factual studies back up what the gun control zealots are saying. Why would an ultimately factual question about the consequences of gun control laws divide people along ideological lines? Because you've got big government zombies versus people that want to be left the flock alone. That's simple. The gun control zombies, the big government zombies, can't leave us alone. They've got to have this all-inclusive garbage where they tell us everything we're supposed to do. Go ahead.
Go ahead, caller.
Good evening. I just wanted to update you. You may already know, but tomorrow, the state of Maine will begin the constitutional permitless carry law that takes effect tomorrow. And it says, measure also allows active duty military between the ages of 18 and 21 years to carry a concealed firearm without going through the permitting process.
Excellent, excellent.
This is Maine?
Yeah.
Yes, Maine.
Wow.
And I'll tell you about Maine when we finish this discussion. I'm going to tell you all about Maine. Let me make a note. Maine and the jihadis. The jihadis are in for a shock about Maine. And I'll explain that when we finish with this article. I'm glad you brought that up.
One quick other thing. You touched on this earlier. It says women will likely have to register or draft, Army Secretary says today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we've heard this.
Wow.
yeah.
As it should be. Hey, I intellectually and spiritually I'm against it. But in this politically correct society and these women want to be treated equally, it's too bad.
Get what you deserve.
Too bad. Y'all brought it on yourselves. And I've seen women do that. Somebody was telling
Not
me
the majority of women.
I read an article the other day where somebody held the door open, some male held the door open at a store for a female. She gave him a dirty look and a nasty comment, so he just basically shut it in her face. Hey, as it should be. You want to be treated equally? Guess what? Chivalry is dead.
Do you think if there was a woman in front of me, if I stood back and waited for her to open the door for me?
Do you think she would do it?
I
Some
wonder if
would.
she'd
I've
do
had
it.
I've had women do that now, which is fine. I
I've
thank
never
them.
had it happen. But
I thank them just like I would a man. But I've also seen them where they have quickly closed the door or started to close the door when I was behind them. That's happened. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay, thanks.
good.
all right,
There you go.
thank you.
All right. All right.
All right, this shows up that if one set of people were more devoted to their vision than to the facts, i.e. the zombies, are more devoted to their vision than to the facts. This shows up when gun control zealots are asked whether whatever new law they propose would have prevented the shooting rampage they're using as the present day, as the current stage from which to propose a new clampdown on gun ownership. Almost always, the new law being proposed would not have made the slightest difference. That too is part of the farce, a deadly farce. So is the automatic assertion that whoever engages in a shooting rampage was a madman. Yet these supposedly crazy shooters are usually rational enough to choose some gun-free zone for their murderous attacks.
Why would they choose a gun-free zone?
Oh, maybe because when they're confronted by somebody with a gun, they're planning to kill themselves.
Could be.
Or they're programmed
Or like,
to do that.
who was it, Feinstein said that, if we take the guns away, the bad guy will feel sorry for you and put his gun down and won't use it? Yeah, she said that. Can you imagine?
What we need to do is have Feinstein prove her assumption.
Yeah.
She needs to go into
Harlem.
the inner city in Detroit or Chicago.
Harlem.
Harlem?
Yeah.
Wherever. There's any number of locations. There's plenty of places in LA she could probably go.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sure.
Or even San Francisco. And prove her assumption to us. And I won't accept her proof unless she can do it 9 times out of 10. In other words, unless she does not get shot and the bad guy puts his gun down 9 times out of the 10 times she tries. How do you save Dianne Feinstein from drowning? I don't know. Good. Okay,
Throw her a life preserver.
exactly. Go ahead and take that one for it.
Go ahead, caller.
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, James. Just a couple quick comments. A friend of mine was saying last week, about how we need, more gun laws and blah, blah, blah. The routine. You know what I told myself? I tell you what. Go home, get a piece of paper, write down every new gun law you think, would stop these nut jobs from killing somebody, and you fold it up, put it in your wallet or your pocket. And next time some clown approaches you with a weapon, you pull the damn piece of paper out and you shake it at him. And if some clown comes at me, I'm going to pull out what I got. And I promise you, what I got going to stop him. What you got ain't going to stop him, okay? So you keep on with this new gun laws that don't make no sense. No time. I appreciate the call. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
And see, that's a common sense approach to this thing. Let's pass one of these laws, or take some of the existing crap that's in some of these cities, and go into those cities. Let Feinstein or somebody famous do this, that they would recognize instantly, right? Have them a copy of this. That's another that we can have Feinstein do. Have her have all the California and the local rules about guns.
Yeah.
And when somebody
You should have
accosts
Jerry
her,
Brown with her, too.
right? She should have Jerry Brown with her. And
Jerry
when,
Brown should be right alongside
when a
her.
bad guy, and no guns. Okay,
No
they
guns.
can't have their bodyguards.
No
with them.
bodyguard.
No bodyguard. No. And they go in that alley. They walk down a bad street until they see something going down in an alley, say a drug deal, or they're mugging a homeless guy for his pair of worn out sneakers. Go down the alley, waving these gun laws. One of them can waive the gun laws. The other one can waive the rules about other kinds of weapons that they probably have, because these guys in the alley may not have a gun. They may have a knife, a baseball bat, brass knucks, nunchucks, what have you. Go ahead and grab that. Call back. I think that was the Pillsbury Doughboy calling.
Okay. There's some interesting.
Yeah, go
There
ahead.
we go. Go ahead, caller.
I think they ought to pass a law that all these anti-gun people are required to put a sign on their house, gun-free zone and businesses.
Exactly. Now,
Well,
see,
I think the first gun-free zone we should have is the White House.
or the state capitol in
state capitol, yeah.
Sacramento, California, et cetera, or
You
New
know.
York, the state capitol in New York. But you see,
Well, don't you agree, though?
well, I wanted to do that. I wanted to sell these at the gun shows. This is a gun-free zone. And then I would take it to a flea market or to or like the thing at the horse farm, where they have their touchy feel-good buy your green crap, and sell them over there too. I do a land office business both places, you see. The folks at the gun show would be buying them. Oh no, it's illegal to shoot over a baited field, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
We have a lot of, we could resolve
Young
this.
couples today, you know, the husband and the wife, you know, they just don't want a gun in their house. Well, let's say some drug head breaks into the house, wants to rape his wife. What are you going to hit him with, this purse?
yes,
Stop it.
I'm guilty. I'm gonna hit them with my purse.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Except my purse is officially, by the U.S. military, labeled an escape and evasion bag.
This is breaking.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the people that wrote that bill, that for the deal I'm going to tomorrow, the group of House members who negotiated the agreement on developing new standards in the 2015 legislative session, Guyman, Schroeder, Pope, Harris, Henry, Harvard, and Hinkson, have declared that the spirit of the compromise has not been kept by Bessie. While negotiating the agreement, Superintendent John White made the point that the review committee should have access to anything that they need through their decisions. The legislators who have concerns worked in good faith on the agreement. The intent was to identify the areas of concern and so on and so forth. So there's pushback right now.
Good.
Since these raw scores came out, that's good to see that these legislators are stepping up.
They're keeping track of what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
I didn't mean to
The trouble
interrupt.
is, some of those guys are term limited and won't be back.
Yeah, but not Henskin, I guarantee you.
Yeah, good,
That was page 1 of 10.
good. All right, going on here with gun-free zones.
We only got a couple of minutes, so.
The bad folks are gonna use gun-free zones for their murderous attacks. they seem more rational than the gun control zealots who keep creating more gun-free zones. Okay? Gun control zealots are almost always people who are lenient toward criminals, while they're determined to crack down on law-abiding citizens who want to be able to defend themselves and their loved ones. And I'm going to stop here because part 2 is even bigger than part 1.
Tomorrow
It's
night,
gonna-
huh?
Next week.
Next week?
We'll get to part 2.
Oh.
Next week.
Yeah,
Well,
not next week. Yeah, next week.
next week. I will give you this story. This is the difference between a liberal sheep zombie, gun controlist, and one of us. The liberal sheep zombie comes out of a movie theater on New York 5th Avenue with their wife and their child one evening, and they're accosted by a guy with a knife, who then, of course, they try and talk him out of it, whereas we come out and take care of business.